Hey YouTube, so we are at Rock Run, and my neighbors just happen to be subscribers of the channel, which is like totally awesome. And they offered to take me out on the side-by-side, so that's what we're going to do today. Originally we were planning on taking the Jeep out while we were at Rock Run, but we are going on a big vacation to the beach, and you'll see some video footage of that in a future video. So we really didn't want to break the Jeep because I had to tow the trailer around and everything. So this is perfect that you know, we can go out with somebody else's machine. And these are the side-by-sides that we went out with, and that is a Turbo Polaris, and the other one was a Can-Am. We are starting at the Clayworks Campground, and I'm going to try my best to show you where we are going. I'm just fortunate that Eric is driving around, and he knows this place like the back of his hand. And I'm just going to show you on the map where we're at, and hopefully I don't sound too silly. So this is a main road right here, and you saw this in the campground review, and on the right there's a campground, and in front of us there's a campground. So if you turn in right here, this is what they call the outer loop. This is a blue trail, a side-by-side blue trail. Not to be confused, I guess, with like a Jeep blue trail. And Eric was telling me that the colors at all the different parks are like completely different, so it's really hard to judge just from color, hearing it's a blue or a black or a green, like really how difficult it is in the side-by-side world is just apparently just really incredibly difficult. So we were filming this on a 360 degree camera that I went through and reframed back down to 1080p. So hopefully this doesn't make anybody sick, because the camera that I was shooting it on had really good image stabilization. But you are going to get to see a little bit of a different kind of perspective. And yeah, I am hand-holding the camera, as crazy as it sounds. And it seems like it's pretty stable. So anyway, I will clean the camera every so often. Like, I know there's water on the lens right now, I'm sorry. But that's what happens when you're in a side-by-side versus like a enclosed Jeep. And it'll get better. Throughout the video, you'll see like there'll be water on the lens, and then there won't be, and then there will be, and then there won't be. But that is part of the fun of getting you know, muddy and dirty in a side-by-side. So Eric was telling me that this specific Can-Am, which I don't even know exactly which model of it is, as silly as that sounds, is the one that Fisher's Off-Road said was impossible to get stuck. And essentially this specific model has what is basically like all-wheel drive. So it does have like the, you know, the 4x4 lockers and all that kind of stuff, but it does also have like a computer chip in it apparently, and if it detects like one of the wheels is like rotating or whatever, moving a little bit, that it kicks in just like the all-wheel drive that you have on Subarus and Jeeps and stuff. So just like Jeeps, you can run into traffic on the trail. The people behind us, there's three of us out here, three side-by-sides out here, backed up, and we were able to get in there and get to a spot where they could get around us. But it's the same protocol as with Jeeps. Somebody gets the one group gets out of the way, and the other group goes around them. And there are all the hand signs that you can do. And I don't mean like that hand sign, but there's all kinds of hand signs you can do to signal back and forth, like how many vehicles are behind you. But for the most part, I mean, you stick your hand out the window and you give them the finger, but not like the finger. You give them some fingers, and the number of fingers that you give them, sorry, it sounds like really funny, but the number of fingers that you give them denotes typically how many vehicles are behind you, so you do not include yourself. So if you're like the last one, then you would just kind of like give them a fist, and then if there was like two vehicles, you would just give them like two fingers, and most people can figure out like which fingers they are. It's pretty much like the way you teach your kids for counting. So we are still on this this blue trail, and we're flying through pretty fast. I did speed up the video just a little bit, just so it wouldn't be quite so like tedious. And I know the Jeep people, like when they're seeing this, they're probably going to be like, oh my god, like not another like side-by-side video or something, because we did some side-by-side videos when we were in Logandale, a while back, and I know some people were kind of like not pleased that we weren't in a Jeep. So anyway, there's going to be a total of three side-by-side videos, and this is the first one, and there'll be 2 more, and we're going to cover most of Rock Run in a side-by-side. But feel free to come out here in your Jeep and enjoy the park. But I knew that people who have never been here before, that are subscribers of ours, would love to see what this park looks like to figure out if they want to come out here. We are going to be on mostly side-by-side trails, but we are going to be on quite a few trails also that the Jeep could fit on. So when we did film this, which was very recent since you're seeing it, and like I said, the videos are a little bit out of order. Coronavirus is going on, we're wearing masks and everything, and protective garments, so it's all good, and even though we're within 6 feet of each other, and you'll see some footage at different points where you can actually see our faces and see that we are wearing masks and stuff. So this trail right here is one of the main roads. This is the road that we took to actually get to the X-Rock Forest, and we are coming up on a black trail, and I think that this will be the only black trail that we're going to do for the day. And when you see it, like, you're going to be like, that's a black trail? And like I said, I mean, the measurements on side-by-side trails versus Jeep trails are like totally different. Typically, like a black trail, like I know at AOA, is like a bunch of big rocks when you say black. And for side-by-sides, I think it has to do with like steepness probably, or grade, or something else, I'm not really sure. But typically, you don't see like humongous, gigantic rocks. Like, so here, right here, Black Diamond, and it is marked black on the map. A very, very short little trail, but it is a very steep grade. And you can see how steep that is. I mean, you could stack like 10 or 15 of these on top of each other to get to the top. And I bet that this trail is probably super hard when it's super wet. The other thing that Eric was saying, just talking to him, because I don't know a whole lot about side-by-sides, is that this was like the perfect weather, and it did feel like the perfect weather. We were out here in a t-shirt and everything was great, and it had just recently rained, so stuff wasn't like dusty, and we're in like a little play area, by the way. But for whatever reason, a lot of people hadn't come out to the park to do the side-by-sides, because I guess people were expecting more rain. So it's not fun apparently to be in a side-by-side in the rain, but it's fun to be in a side-by-side right after the rain. So, you know, like, weather, like, plays a big thing into going out, apparently. So I was into that black trail, and now we are going to get onto the next trail, and I'll show you on the map where we are. And see that we are wearing masks. This is Radio Road, and it goes around the upper left corner of the map, and there's that Polaris Turbo that is joining us. I think I super sped this up because you didn't really need to see the road so much. And the other thing to keep in my mind on side-by-sides, since you are outdoors, I mean, you're constantly having to clean, you know, cameras, you're constantly having to clean masks and stuff. It's not like you're enclosed in a cabin. You are wearing a helmet, obviously, also. So this reminds me a lot of Windrock Park. We rented side-by-side for almost a week at Windrock, and a lot of the trails that we went over were very similar to this at Windrock. And so normally, I don't know the distance that we went. I probably could look it up and kind of guess. But normally with Jeeps, you normally go around like 10 to 15 miles in a day. In side-by-sides, normally you push over 50 miles a day in the same length of time. So these things go incredibly fast in comparison. So this is Rogue's Path. This is another blue trail. So these are very tight and twisty trails that you go incredibly fast down. So it feels kind of like dangerous compared to like a Jeep, to say the truth. However, Eric does have these gigantic lights on the front of his truck. They don't look too gigantic, but they're rigid lights, and they are like super ridiculously bright. So the general idea is you have these really bright lights in front of you, and then you just hope that somebody will see them and get out of your way or stop or something. And I guess you hope that you have good brakes. But fortunately for us, there were not a lot of people on these trails. I would say if you get the opportunity to like rent a side-by-side, or the opportunity to actually ride in a side-by-side if you've never done it before, you should take that opportunity, because I mean, it is really different than going around in Jeeps. I mean, I know people think of them as like little Jeeps, but it is just so much different. And like, I'm not saying better or worse, I'm just saying it's different. And you know, some of the big differences that I see, and the water here, he was saying like the left side looked kind of like evil murky. It had that kind of color on the top of it that didn't make us want to really go through it. So anyway, some of the differences between like side-by-sides and Jeeps, just like some of this is going to be obvious and some of it's not going to be obvious. The side-by-sides go really fast, the Jeeps typically go fairly slow, and the reason for that is because side-by-sides are typically lightweight, and they typically have very stiff suspension. Jeeps are typically very heavy and they have very soft suspension. And so when you have a soft suspension, it means that like the tires go up and down a lot, and it also means that like it's good for going over like very large rocks very slowly. When you have a stiff suspension, it means that because the suspension doesn't really go up and down quite as much typically, it actually is a lot smoother to just kind of like glide over the top of rocks. So the general like approach on driving is like really like different than it is on Jeeps. Even though it just seems like it looks like a little tiny Jeep, it's just different on the way that they drive. Most side-by-sides, not all of them, don't have typically heat or air conditioning, and typically they are exposed to elements and they're like open like this. Some of them have glass windows that go down, like the one that we're in right now has an automatic window. You can push a button and it'll go up and down for us. But typically you're exposed to the elements, so typically the side-by-side community really prefers the weather to be perfect, and it's not anywhere near as fun when you have like weather that's not nice. Where like in the Jeep, you know, I have no problem going out on Christmas like in the snow and spending the whole day out there, because you know I have my heated seats and I have my heater in the truck, and we can put the windows up and we can be out there all day and not have a problem. If I was in a side-by-side like this and you know, we were out there and it was like, you know, below zero or something like that, or like even close to zero, I think I'd be really like, you know, cold. It would really not be as enjoyable at all. And I'm sure that like there's things that you can do to make it kind of look a little bit more fun and everything. But like I was saying, I mean, it's just really different. And if you have the opportunity, you should give it a try. Like, just check it out. I'm not telling you to go buy one or anything like that. I mean, if you want to, like, go buy one. So anyway, we were having a blast today, and it was just great to sit there, and we had this great conversation going on. I don't even remember exactly what the conversation was about, but we did have a great conversation. And so now we are turning on to the Golden Arch Trail, and the Golden Arch Trail takes you around the other edge of the park. So we are on the far edge of the park, and there's another Polaris with us. So we're not in a Polaris. I know I keep saying there's another Polaris with us, and we're in a Can-Am, and those are Polarises that are with us. But we're all like kind of like one big group, so to speak, that's going out. So this is Raptor Path. Raptor Path is a green trail. And I'd have to say, just like looking at the trails now that I know where we're at, because it took a while for me to go through and map out where exactly we went. I would say that it's kind of like Jeeps. I kind of like the blue trails. And that's the same thing goes with Jeeps. I kind of like the blue trails. The green trails seem pretty, you know, flat and super easy. And like with Jeeps at least, the black trails can get kind of gnarly. But the blue trails just sort of, they just feel just right. They have a little bit of a challenge. They usually are a little bit interesting. And at the same time, you know, they're not too ridiculously simple. They just seem kind of chill and kind of fun to go across, at least for me. And it seems like in the side by side the side by side blues also feel kind of like they fit in that category. I would say filming this, you definitely have to be the passenger to film probably good side-by-side footage. And the reason for that is because I have to keep cleaning the camera. I think that if I was driving and I had the camera like mounted to the side-by-side, I think I'd be a little bit frustrated because I'd have to keep on cleaning it. And he has a tablet mounted that has the map and everything, so he's using the same software that we use for mapping Jeep trails, Maparica or Maplets. So where are we going, and what is the next video? So we are going to the mud bog, and as exciting as a mud bog sounds, like that is going to be the topic of the next video. Additionally, it's also going to be some trails that we did after the mud bog, but the big thing for the next video will be the mud bog, and you'll find out that the mud bog is not actually that deep, and even Jeeps can go through the mud bog like relatively easily. But right now we are mainly just trying to get to the mud bog, so then we can go play in that. And a couple times they asked me when we were out here, they're like, have you ever been in a side-by-side before? Because I look like probably like completely white or completely green. And I was like totally hungover from the night before. I was so hungover, it was like ridiculous. But I really wanted to record all this footage for the channel, and I really wanted to go out in side-by-sides, so yeah, I went out pretty hungover, and it was still pretty fun.